Hurts takes the snap. He's back. He's going to run. He's in! Touchdown! Jalen Hurts! The Eagles are just devouring the Giants. And it is A.J. Brown again! Another touchdown!
Welcome back to the Linc Lineup. Today is Friday, August 25th, 2023. We hope everybody had a wonderful week and you're ready for a wonderful weekend. The Birds played some football last night, so we'll briefly talk about that. Today is episode 7, I believe. I think it's 7. If it's not 7, it's 6.
I think it's 7.
I think it's 7. Okay, cool. So we'll call it 7, and if not, you know. So today we're going to briefly go over last night's game, and then we're going to give our final 53-man roster projections. I know our first episode was the 53-man roster projection, but preseason games happen, joint practices happen, so now we have more of an idea of maybe what's to come. I'm your host, Chase. You can follow me on X. I'm going to get it right for the rest of my career podcasting. You can follow me on X at Cardiac Chase. And today I have Josh. You can follow him on X at the Pre2. Just going to be me and Josh today. Bryce canceled on us last minute. It's a shame. He actually has to get a car. So wish him the best, or a vehicle. We don't know if it's going to be a car or not, but he has to get a vehicle. Wish him the best of luck with that. Big grown-up stuff. So last night the Eagles played the Colts. Let me just say this: watching preseason games is a grind. It's a grind. You have to be really dedicated, or you have to be watching something in particular. Because once the 5th stringers come out, 6th stringers, whatever, however deep we want to get into this, come out, it's really hard to watch the game because they're just a bunch of people like you and I just playing football, trying to have some type of tape. So we got lucky enough to see some of the second stringers play. So real quick, we'll go over it. Marcus Mariota started the game off. He was 1 for 2 for 21 yards. His pass that he did complete, I don't know if you saw it. It was shaky. It wasn't like a dot. He was on the run. I think he threw it across his body, and it wasn't the safest throw in the world. But whatever, we've seen what we had to see from Marcus, and ultimately it's not great. But we'll just hope and pray that we don't see him. The preseason sweetheart Tanner McKee came out, was 19 for 34 for 158. Mind you, he was playing against the Colts first stringers for a while, so he had a decent game against starting NFL competition, and that's good to see because he's been lighting it up against 3rd, 4th stringers. So it's nice to see that he's able to compete at the NFL level. Whatever. I fell asleep before Ian Book came in. I don't know. I didn't see anything about him. All I saw is he was 11 for 15 for 80 yards. That's not good. That's not good at all. 11 for 15 is good, but 80 yards with 11 completions is less than 10 per pass completion. So
less than 8.
Oh, yeah, less than 8. So so it was definitely a lot of short yardage, a lot of completions there, and I think he didn't run the ball. He ran the ball one time for 7 yards. So I'm assuming they tried that. They told him, hey, go throw the ball. Don't try to run. Get some tape for yourself because you're not going to make this team. They didn't say those exact words, but I can imagine that's what they were hinting at. Quarterback play was cool. I do want to ask you about this thing. This is definitely a controversial topic amongst the Eagles fans. Anthony Richardson, he scored his little touchdown. I don't think he even scored. I think it was a rushing touchdown. It was. And, he came into the end zone and, flapped his wings. He said today that he was just flapping his arms, wasn't having fun, hope nobody thought anything of it. But what do you think? Do you think he was taunting? And how awful of a look is it for him to taunt after a touchdown against the 4th and 5th stringers?
So, I mean, first off, was it taunting? Clearly. It was obviously taunting. The fact that he's backpedaling after the fact is kind of funny. I think he might have realized, who he was taunting. Um, it's not a good look. I mean, you're supposed to be the starting quarterback in Indianapolis, and you're scoring against backups. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, he's a rookie, and I love a good celebration. If it was us against another team, and our rookie quarterback was celebrating, I don't care who it's against. I'd say go for it. But all I can say is I can't wait until we play him again, and I know we're not going to forget about that.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're right, and I never think about it like that because nobody does. But like rookie year, Jalen Hurts goes down the field, scores. Against the same scenario, obviously switched. We'd be like, oh yeah, that's our guy right there. But at the same time, I would hope that Jalen would have a better stat line than Anthony Richardson had. He was 6 for 17 for 78 yards. That is less than 50%. That is I think it's like in the 30s if my math is correct.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So around it has to be like 38, 37%.
35.
Well, 35% completion. That's bad. For 78 yards, that's awful. That's awful. So he didn't even look like he was the best quarterback on his team. So, Gardner Minshew looked better. He performed better. And the thing with Anthony Richardson is he played until the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter, and he put up these numbers. Just to put an end to this conversation, I guess the Colts aren't going to be a good team this year. If they can't blow us out playing their starters against our bottom of the barrel roster guys, I don't know how you can look at this as a Colts fan and be excited. I know we sound like hurt Eagles fans because he flapped his wings, but it is what it is. We had to bring it up. It happened, and I like Shane Steichen. He was one of my favorite coordinators just because I felt like he did a good job with what he had, and he definitely made Jalen take that next step. It's still screw Jonathan Gannon. Can't wait to play him later on this year. But I hope the best for Steichen, but this Colts team is not going to be good, especially with the Jonathan Taylor situation. I can't imagine a world where this team has more than 5 wins. But I guess really I don't want to go over this game too much. Josh, was there any standout player that you might have saw that you want to bring up real quick before we dive into our projections?
I don't know. I mean, just overall, I don't think anything that happened last night moved the needle too much. I don't think I don't think last night's game affected my 53-man roster. I'll say that. I mean, it was good to get the young guys some run. It was nice to, I don't know, Ian Book got some more tape. Well, he'll probably make our practice squad, but I don't know. Honestly, the biggest takeaway for me is, you kind of touched on it, the fact that Anthony Richardson played the whole first half with their starters against our backups, and that's the stat line he put up. I mean, I know he's a raw prospect and he's got a lot of potential, but that's not promising.
Yeah, and that's the thing with taking people with his skills is he may never turn. We talked about this every podcast. I feel like it's just because you're very athletic doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be this great player. So it's taking a risk. I liked him before that stunt, so I am hurt. You can say what you want. I am hurt by it, but I liked him. But Tanner McKee looked like the better quarterback, and he was a 6th-round pick, 5th-round pick. I can't remember. But so I do want to bring up 2 players, I believe. One did good, one did bad. So Ben Van Sumeren had 17 tackles last night. 17 tackles. That is a lot of tackles for, I believe he was undrafted. I'm 99% sure he was undrafted. But that's great to put on tape. That's a great performance to build off of. And I don't have him, spoiler alert, I don't have him on my 53-man roster, but I can see he's definitely going to make the practice squad. And I don't think anybody's going to claim him just because of, he was undrafted. But 17 tackles, really good performance to build off of. And then, if you followed along since the first episode, I've been a big Joseph Ngata fan. He's definitely not making the team. He was having a decent little game before he fumbled the ball. Once he fumbled it, that won his roster chances. And I hate it because he is like this. He looks like a guy. He looks like a guy that could make a difference, based on like his body type, and like he looks like the part. But he just didn't have like any like breakout games like some of us expected him to or wanted him to. So, it's tough to see. But that was the game. We lost 27-13. We haven't won a game since we played the 49ers back in January. It's sad because we should have won against the Chiefs, but we move on. Let's talk about the 53-man roster. We'll start off with quarterbacks. I don't think we're going to have different people on this one. I got Jalen Hurts, Marcus Mariota, Tanner McKee, and that means Ian Book is the odd man out. I'm assuming that's who you have as well.
Yeah, I have the same thing. The only question here is if Ian Book makes a practice squad or not. Yeah. But that's about it.
There has been. I saw before, as soon as I got home. I pulled up Twitter, X, and I saw that there was this article about Marcus Mariota and like he might get cut, and I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. Not right now, but it was interesting to see, especially if there is some noise because there's a little smoke there, and where there is smoke there is a fire, and I don't believe it, but who knows. So we'll move on because nothing really to talk about. Jalen Hurts is your starting quarterback. He's the franchise quarterback. So that's all that matters. Running backs. I don't think we'll have a different group here, but some Eagles fans might. I got DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, Kenny Gainwell, and Boston Scott.
Okay. I had the same thing. I wasn't sure if you added Trey Sermon or not, but I have him getting cut.
Yeah. No, Trey Sermon will probably be back on the practice squad. He had 16 carries for 30 yards. So that's less than 2 yards per carry. Not great. He also had the fumble against the Browns. Also not great. So I think he had a chance to push for the roster spot, but ultimately he just kind of fizzled out and didn't play his way to a practice or a roster spot. Can't talk. Kenny Brooks.
Kenny Brooks. Trades in the world.
Yeah, yeah, they did. They gave him tons of run last night just to be like, "Hey, do this, make it happen." But he didn't do it. He didn't do it. But fans love him. He'll be back in the practice squad. And also Kenny Brooks, whatever. I don't think he's going to make the practice squad. I think he's going to be on the streets. Next, we got the wide receivers. I got 5. I have them keeping 5. I got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Olamide Zaccheaus. Finally got that one right, and then Britton Covey. Joseph Ngata, Devin Allen, Jaden Hazelwood, Greg Warden, Freddie Swain are the odd men out. I want to talk about this group for a little bit. I'm not confident with Britton Covey as being the 5th receiver. Ultimately, he's just a special teams guy, but he hasn't practiced in some time, and he didn't play in a preseason game. And whenever the Eagles picked him up last year, they were hoping that he could be like, a slot receiver as well, because he's very quick. He's very quick, and we saw some of that quickness on display last year whenever he was returning punts from the Titans game on. Because obviously he was one of the worst punt returners in the league for a good bit there. He turned it on, and you get to see some of his quickness. And so they were hoping that he could, turn that into a skill in the slot. But he hasn't been able to, practice or, anything like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Covey gets cut, and they have another person added on and just maybe sneak Covey onto the practice squad and elevate him. But that's my 5. I'm assuming that's also your 5.
Yeah, I had the same five. You said it well. Covey, I don't feel comfortable with him as the fifth receiver, but that's not really what he's here for. He's here for special teams. So we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, we have 4 receivers that are actually going to get playing time. I can see the Eagles adding a 5th receiver just for depth. Once the 53-man roster is set, and they'll add them after. Because obviously, if you pay attention to football, the 53-man roster does not mean the game day roster, because there's a lot of like tricks you can do to manipulate the rosters. So, whoever's on the 53-man roster come next Tuesday doesn't mean they'll be on the game day roster that following Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Tight ends. I know me and Josh talked about this before the show. I have the Eagles keeping 4. I got Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, Grant Calcaterra, and Tyree Jackson. I like Tyree Jackson. I do. I think he's shown more than Grant Calcaterra has. But I think Grant is the better player, but he just hasn't shown anything. And if Tyree Jackson can figure out his height, weight, and speed profile it's crazy. And he could be like a solid tight end if he can just figure it out and be consistent and stay on the field. That's his biggest thing, staying on the field. So I have Dan Arnold gone, and Brady Russell, I imagine, would be brought onto the practice squad. Do you have 3? I can't remember.
Yeah, I have 3. I have us cutting Tyree Jackson. I love his potential. Like I've said a million times, I love big athletic guys. But yeah, I think we need the roster spots elsewhere. So, I mean, we'll see. For a couple other positions, there might be an extra person that we don't add on, and we do carry 4 tight ends into the season. But for now, I think it's just going to be 3.
Yeah, and that's okay, because like I said, Tyree Jackson could get cut, could be on the practice squad and gets elevated, a couple times this year. So I think they keep him because Howie loves him, and obviously the coaching staff likes him. So we'll see what happens. Overall, I still think we need another tight end, but it is what it is. Moving on to the offensive line. I got them keep at 9. And I do think that they manipulate this group where, we cut them and then we maybe IR somebody and then bring somebody else. So like example, I don't think it's going to happen, but Dennis Kelly will not be subject to waivers because he's played more than 4 years. So we can cut him and he can sign to whoever he wants to. He doesn't have to, worry about, this team's going to pick me up. He can pick and choose who he wants to play for after 4 years. So we could cut him. 53-man roster comes out. We IR somebody short term, bring him back. So I have him keep at 9 for now, and then I think they'll IR somebody and they'll bring somebody back. But as of now, I got Jordan Mailata, Leonard Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Jack Driscoll, Tyler Steen. Fred Johnson is a lock because he just signed a 2-year contract. And I got Sua Opeta because he didn't play last night. And so I'm assuming you don't play the third preseason game, you pretty much made the team. I'm curious, do you have any different players in your offensive line group?
I do, actually. So instead of Sua Opeta, I have Josh Sills. I know Statland likes him a lot. And I believe we already opened Opeta up to waivers. To keep Sills. So much.
You can look that up real quick. If that is the case, I think Josh Sills is the guy. But if it's not the case, I have Opeta and then Josh Sills. They like him. They're going to cut him, and nobody's going to pick him up just because of his past. Like the charges and stuff, it gets kind of messy. So I can see them bringing him back on the practice squad and then using like his elevations throughout the year as well if they need him. But maybe if you can look that up real quick, that way, or I can look it up too. But yeah, this is a good group. Like as far as the starters go, depth is questionable, just because there's not like somebody that I feel good about being put in there. So as long as we can keep 4 out of the 5 healthy throughout the year, I think this will be an all right group, no matter who you put in there. While you looked it up, I'm going to move on to the edge defenders. So this is going to be, the edge plus the defensive ends. So anybody that rushes on the outside. I got the Eagles keeping Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brendan Graham, Nolan Smith, Derek Barnett, and Patrick Johnson. I think Kyron Johnson barely misses out on a spot. I think he's a better special team guy, but I think they're going to value Patrick Johnson's defense abilities more, even though I'm not a big fan of Patrick Johnson, but the Eagles are. And then I'll bring up one more player. Janarius Robinson has all the tools to be a successful edge rusher, but he looked so lost last night sometimes. He got faked out on an, I believe, a read option. Just he thought Anthony Richardson was handing the ball off. He just committed to the inside, left the outside wide open. And, if he stayed still, could have prevented that play from happening. But he looks lost sometimes, so I have him missing out on the roster. Who do you have at edge?
So I actually have the same edges as you, all 6. Just to touch on Janarius Robinson a little more, he's a perfect example of somebody who has all the physical tools in the world, but just doesn't have the, for lack of a better word, the mental game.
Right. Yep, and that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But it can be taught, it can be fixed if you want it. So I can see them keeping him around on the practice squad. Obviously, we can't keep everybody that we cut on the practice squad, but I don't think anybody's going to pick him up. I don't think the Eagles will be worried that somebody pick him up. So,
yeah, I have Kyron Johnson, Janarius Robinson, and Teron Jackson on our practice squad. So
cool. Yeah, I can see all 3 of them being there. I think Kyron has a lot of upside if they can just unlock it. So, I know they were high on him coming out of Kansas, but he just hasn't been able to show it on the field yet. Interior defensive line. This one's where we are pretty deep at, and I got Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Marlon I'm gonna call him Tui because I can never pronounce his name, and then Moro Ojomo. So I got him keeping 6. The only question mark here, and I think this will happen. Contavious Street didn't play last night, and then Moro Ojomo has a concussion. So there's a possibility they cut Contavious Street. Moro Ojomo makes the 53-man roster, gets short-term IR, and then they bring Contavious Street back. But as of now, Cox, Davis, Carter, Williams, Tui, Ojomo. Is that who you have?
That is who I have, and I think what you said about putting Ojomo on the 53, then a short-term IR, signing Street back, I think is exactly what's going to happen. And if Street's not subject to waivers, so I think that's probably the plan.
Yep, I was a little higher on Contavious Street coming into the preseason just because I feel like if he played alongside, this defensive line, he's a good pass rusher. So I thought maybe he could be that guy that kind of benefits from everybody around him, but he didn't get to show it in the preseason. He didn't do what he needed to do. I feel like if he showed a little bit, he would have been a lock to make the team, but he just didn't show anything. Sucks, but that's my loss of the initial 53-man roster that we made in the first episode. Next up, we got linebackers. I got him going super thin at linebacker. I got him keeping 3: Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham, and Christian Ellis. Same thing with the Moro Ojomo thing is I can see them putting Ojomo on short-term IR and then bring back Nicholas Morrow, just because they're not like really attached to Nicholas Morrow. I think it was like $1 million contract, but like they can cut him anytime without penalty. So Ben Van Sumeren definitely going to make the practice squad, and then Tyreek Maddox-Williams had a great game last night. He got a pick. He came out of nowhere. I believe he was on the team for maybe a week. He played his ass off. And so I think he'll be rewarded with a practice squad spot. And it'll be interesting to see his development as the year progresses. Because who knows? We're super thin in linebackers, so he could get the call at any time. Granted, it wouldn't be like a super confident call, but he could have his moment to shine. So I'm curious to see who you have at linebacker. Did you go 3 as well?
I did go 3. I think off-ball linebacker is our thinnest position, so naturally going to go a bit thin there. We don't exactly have a what's the word? Like a wealth of talent there. Yeah. But I think there's a chance that we bring back Morrow instead of Street if we do put Jumbo on the short-term IR. But we'll see. Van Sumeren, had a great game yesterday. I think he definitely earned his practice squad spot. I think he put it well, as well as Tyreek Maddox-Williams. I think he summed it up well.
Yeah. I do. So this is a position that I still think they can make a move at. After Tuesday. I think Nakobe Dean and Zach Cunningham are a solid pairing. I think Zach Cunningham has shown enough in pass coverage where you don't feel super nervous whenever you see the quarterback drop back for a pass and our linebackers are covering somebody. So I think that's okay. Nakobe Dean has shown a little bit in the pass coverage game, but his upside is blitzing and stopping the run, which is nice because last night I saw a lot of blitzes. I don't know if you saw them as much as I did, but I saw a lot more blitzes than we had, during the Gannon area and even the Jim Schwartz era. So that'd be fun if we blitz more and we're more of an aggressive defense. I like it. We've been pretty passive the past couple of years because we're, Jonathan Gannon's philosophy was, stop the big plays, let everything in front of you. But, sometimes you got to be aggressive and, make a play. And like if you just sit back and let stuff happen, nothing really gets done. And, so it'll be interesting to see Nakobe Dean in this defense.
You got to make the other team uncomfortable. You can't give them all the time in the world or, give them space to do what they want. You got to put the pressure on them.
Yeah. And, the thing is, we had a historic season last year with the sacks. I think we have the possibility to break a record in the sack department just because, linebackers will have a chance to get sacks and somebody is like a defensive back will be sent on a blitz eventually and they'll get a sack here and there. So, who knows? Who knows what will happen in this defense? I'm excited to see it. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Another thing about the linebacker spot is I know that Nolan Smith and Patrick Johnson have both put a little bit of time in there this summer. So that's just a little pseudo depth at that position.
Yeah. And then also on top of that, we throw a lot of safeties there too. So we throw Terrell Edmonds and who else we put out there? What else was it? I think James Bradbury got some time there and in the slot as well.
I know he got some time in the slot for sure.
Yeah. So they're going to do like this hybrid thing. So I wonder who's going to be the main guy. But cornerbacks, I got them keeping 6. This one was my toughest. This and safety was my toughest picks here. I got them going Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, Josh Jobe, Keely Ringo, and the last spot was between Eli Ricks and Mario Goodrich. Part of me was like, well, Mario Goodrich fits the backup slot role that was vacated due to Zach McPherson going down. But Eli Ricks has played himself onto this team, so I have Eli Ricks taking the last spot. He's had pretty good games. I will say in the Browns game he didn't have his best showing, but the Ravens game, we got the pick 6, and then last night when he's playing against the starters, he looked good. So that's my 6 going into this year. What about you?
So I promise we didn't plan this, but that actually is my 6 also. My last spot was down also to Mario Goodrich or Eli Ricks, and I had the same conclusion. Mario Goodrich fits schematically better, but I can't not put Eli Ricks on the team. Yeah, I mean, I think the potential he has, the way he looked against the Ravens, like you said, he played great against the starters last night. I think he just brings too much to the table to cut him at this point.
Yeah, and I will say that you know Keely Ringo benefits from being a third round pick. If he wasn't a third round pick, I can easily see the Eagles cutting him. He hasn't really shown anything to me personally, other than like a play here, a play there. But he's looked bad for the most part, more so than good. So I hate that Mario Goodrich or Eli Ricks or whoever else it may be might miss a roster spot because Keely Ringo gets the benefit of being a third round pick. I can say this: it is a lock that Josiah Scott will not be in the Eagles uniform next year at any time. So if somebody does go down, thank God that Josiah Scott will not be there. Super excited for that. So yeah, moving on to safeties. I gotta keep it 4. I gotta keep them 4. The 4 may be different than yours. If you have 4, I got Reed Blankenship, who is our starting safety, our head guy in the safety department. Terrell Edmonds, Sidney Brown, and I gotta keep in Justin Evans. Justin Evans has been getting a lot of first team reps over the past couple weeks, or at least the past week, alongside Reed Blankenship. So I think he's played his way into a starting spot. Now, can I see Sidney Brown taking that starting spot soon? Yes. But I think Justin Evans makes it. Disappointed with the way Terrell Edmonds has played. I don't know if he makes that spot, to be honest. I just put him there because, his name, and he's played the game, long enough. He's like a safe pick. Like we had Anthony Harris last year, the year before. We used him, and he could be ahead of Sidney Brown for the meantime. But Terrell Edmonds has been our hybrid, like safety linebacker guy, at least from what I've seen. So who do you have at safety?
So I knew we had to have a different number of picks at one position. Here it is. I actually have us keeping 5, so I have us the same 4 as you do, plus Kevon Wallace.
Yeah, I got you, and that makes sense. It's just so I'll say this. So I'll give you a story time real quick, and then I'll give you my answer. So last year, before I went to the Eagles-Titans game, I'm from South Carolina, and Kayvon Wallace's agent is from the North Carolina, South Carolina area. So he came into my store, and I saw him dressed in I saw this guy dressed in all the Eagles stuff, like everything the Eagles, like the players wear. And so I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, first off, it's cool because we're in South Carolina and there's a guy dressed in Eagle stuff. So naturally, if you're not from the Philly area and you see somebody with Eagle stuff, you feel obligated to say, go Birds or something. So I talked to him. I was like, hey, are you a fan? He said no. And so I thought he was just being an asshole. But he was like, no, my client plays for the Eagles. I was like, oh, who? And then he was like, Kayvon Wallace. I was like, great. Nobody special, right? Sorry, Kayvon, if you're listening to this. But I will say this: the guy was really mean. He was really mean, and he was he's kind of an asshole. And he had his nose all you know how people are. And I wanted to see who he represented. Bunch of nobodies. So I do have some hate in my heart for Kayvon, especially because I wanted him to be the next Brian Dawkins because he came from Clemson just as Brian Dawkins did. And they gave him that hype that he was going to be the next Brian Dawkins. However, I met your agent. He wasn't nice. And then you also suck because I've seen you get, hurtled over many times. I've seen you out of position many times. So I can't put you on this roster. You played into the fourth quarter last night, like deep into the fourth quarter. I don't think that you're deserving of a roster spot. So
That's a fair point. Yeah, and then that was the one thing that made me hesitant was that how late he played yesterday. Yeah. I ended up throwing him on there anyway, but I could definitely see him not taking the roster.
Yeah,
I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
The only issue, though, the only thing in your favor about that is like somebody had to play safety yesterday, and so it was Kevin Wallace. So maybe he is that last safety to make the team, or he might be the first safety out. So last but not least, we got the specialists: Jake Elliott, Aaron Sipos, Rick Lovato. I don't know if Aaron Sipos stays on the team after Tuesday. I hope that some team cuts their punter and that punter falls down the waiver wire straight to us. We scoop him up. Don't care that he got cut by a team. He's got to be better than Aaron Sipos is. Last night, Aaron Sipos had a 48-yard punt. And people were saying, wow, what a kick or the punt, 48 yards is not great whenever it's try to get them deep type punt, And he had like a 30-yard punt on like the same scenario. So like he is so bad, and I can't forgive him for the punt against the Chiefs. He shanked that ball, and it was disgusting. And I don't know why he's still on this team. This is the one thing that I get irritated with Howie about. Howie can do no wrong in a lot of people's eyes, but this is the one thing where I'm like, man, like, why are you doing this to us? Like, it's not hard. Just find somebody like decent to punt the ball. I mean, I've been happy with Brett Kern punting in the Super Bowl last year, but because Aaron Sipos was bad, everybody was bad last year in punting. But just get somebody, just get some type of competition, because Ty Zettner was not even going to even compete for that job. He was a body. And please, Howie, just get a punter. But I'm assuming you have the same three.
Yeah, I have the same three, and I feel the same way about Sipos. If we can get another punter before week 1, please, Howie. Just, it's not even an if, because I know we can. There's got to be somebody out there. Just take a chance.
I mean, punt God's still out there.
Punt God's still out there. I mean, and it's not like punter is really a position where you need to have like a lot of chemistry with the other people you play with. Like if you can catch the ball from the long snapper, you're good to go. I mean, I guess we could. I mean, so just bring somebody in, some kind of competition. I'm surprised that he even made it into training camp after the Super Bowl, and we didn't immediately start to look elsewhere. I mean, there's got to be something to it, because I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he doesn't want to spend the money, even though punter is probably the cheapest position on the team, or what it is. But I mean, I can't live with Aaron Sipos as the punter.
Yep. And just to put in perspective, like, I think back in my peak physique in football playing shape, I could have kicked the ball 50 yards. Like, I could have punted the ball 50 yards. It might not have had a lot of hang time to it, but I could have kicked it that far. Aaron Sipos isn't getting it that far. And so, like, he has a noodle leg. That's what he has. We hear about noodle arms all the time amongst quarterbacks. He has a noodle leg. So I hope we get somebody else. Jake Elliott, we are so lucky that we claimed him off the practice squad in 2017. I believe he's on the Bengals practice squad. We claimed him, and he has been consistent all the way up until this point. However, he did have that one stretch, I believe 2 years ago, where he was kind of iffy, but he's been solid. He's been awesome since his rookie year, where he kicked 2 40-plus yard field goals in the Super Bowl. He's awesome, and I believe he'll have like a David Akers type tenure here, and that'd be awesome just because David Akers was a great kicker to have, and sometimes I think about him and I miss him because those were some good times. So it's nice to have a solid kicker that you can trust. And yeah, so that is the the 53-man roster. We might be wrong about a lot of these picks. I have a good feeling about most of them. But like I said previously, just because you make the 53-man roster doesn't mean that you're going to be on the first Sunday, opening day roster. So, after Tuesday, that's whenever like Howie gets started, because he's going to be around the waiver wire. He's going to try to make some additions to weak spots, and he could make a trade. He could make a trade for a linebacker that we desperately might need, or they might be so high on Zach Cunningham that they forget about that spot and we go in with what we have. So ultimately, I think that right now, if we're looking at like a big change, I would say either punter or wide receiver is going to get the most attention. I don't actually pause. Let's talk about this. Do you think that, are you okay with going into the season with DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, and the rest of the guys, or do you think that adding Jonathan Taylor would make that big of a difference?
It's funny. I was going to bring this up. I mean, obviously, Jonathan Taylor would be really cool to have. It depends what we'd have to give up. I mean, I'm confident with who we have. Jonathan Taylor could put us over the top, obviously. And I mean, how he's got to do his due diligence. He wouldn't be doing the team right if he didn't at least explore the option.
Right.
I've read rumors that we've made an offer. I'm really curious what that is.
It can't be too high.
I hope not. I mean, it can't be. Howie wouldn't. I don't think Howie would do that. I think he understands the value of running backs nowadays. If he was going to make a big offer for a running back, he probably would have just paid Miles Sanders. So, yeah, it would be fun to do, and I don't know. I mean, it would be great, and it would make us a better team, but I don't think it like moved us from like non-contenders to contenders or anything like that, or like just anything crazy. I think we have a good group.
Yeah. And I believe Jim Irsay said that he wanted a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor, which is funny to me because, Jonathan Taylor wants, like, top running back money, and Jim Irsay's not going to give it to him. But he wants to trade him for first, like, top running back talent. But even in today's world, a top running back's not going to bring you a first-round pick. Nobody wants to do that. And draft night, I was still shocked that the Lions and the Falcons both drafted running backs high. I know Bijan was like a generational talent, and so I could see him get drafted in the first round like that, but not that high because it was 8th. So, today's world, running back isn't what it used to be, but there are still great running backs out there. And I believe we got one with DeAndre Swift. I think Rashad Penny can be great if he stays healthy. And like I said, he trusts his leg to hold up. So, it'd be fun. It'll be fun to see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. It was kind of quicker than normal. I believe we're going to record Sunday. We're going to do a fun little episode. Then we're going to take a week off just because there's nothing really to talk about. And then I'm going on a trip. So we'll come back the following week and do a preview for the game against the Patriots. We're going to do the over under episode. So if you like betting, come to the show. We'll talk about it. But with that being said, we look forward to having like a wonderful season. We hope that we provide good content for you guys. We scratch the itch that a lot of Eagles fans have, which is just they want more things about the birds, and that's what we aim to please. So, we're gonna have a lot of fun videos here and there, and we can't wait for the season to get started so we can talk about the Eagles. So that being said, I'm Chase. You can follow me at Cardiac Chase on X. You can follow Josh at the Pre2, and make sure to follow the show on all socials at the Linc Lineup. If you're listening, give us a rating on the platform that you're on. Just help us spread the word that we are here and we are talking. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, and leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. We greatly appreciate it. So that being said, thank you for watching, and hey, little go birds.
Go birds.